Yeah, good morning, students. In this particular classroom discussion topic, we would like to discuss about the dynamic memory allocation functions which are used in one-dimensional arrays. So now I would like to share my screen. Yeah, hope my screen is visible to you. Yeah, fine. So this is what the topic for today's discussion: dynamic memory allocation for single dimensional or one-dimensional arrays. So in the summary of the previous CDT is that in previous class we had a discussion on memory allocation functions, malloc, calloc and realloc, and the memory deallocation function which we have used is a free function. Fine. So the lecture objectives are that this session will develop the students' knowledge on dynamic memory allocation functions, so usage in single dimensional arrays. Lecture outcome is that after completion of the session, students will be able to use these dynamic memory allocation functions in writing the programs using one-dimensional arrays. So if you take this, this is one of the important example where we can use malloc function to find the sum of the n elements in the array. So where n is the number of elements which is entered dynamically, and based on that n value we have to allocate the memory using this dynamic memory allocation functions. So we are reading enter number of elements, scanf percentage d ampersand num, then we are allocating the memory by making use of the malloc function. So pointer is equal to int star, this is the typecasting we are doing, and then malloc of how many elements, for how many elements we want to allocate the memory, number of elements star size of int. So this is a single parameter, single argument we are taking num into size of int. If size of int is taking 2 and the number of elements are 5, 5 into 2, 10. So malloc of 10. So it is going to allocate the 10 bytes of memory. A single block of 10 bytes of memory is going to be allocated for this. And it is pointer is a PTR is a pointer pointing to the starting byte in this array. So if PTR is equal to null, that means malloc is failed in allocating the memory requested number of bytes. Then we are simply printing the message that error message we are printing, memory is not able to allocate, and we are exiting from the program. Otherwise, if the memory is allocated, then we are asking the user to enter elements. So for I equal 0, I less than num, I plus plus. So scanf percentage d, ptr plus I. So this is ptr plus 0, ptr plus 1, ptr plus 2. We are adding the integer to the base address, and based on that pointer arithmetic, we are able to read the values into contiguous memory bytes. Fine. Then after that, parallelly, we are calculating the summation. Sum is equal to sum plus star of ptr plus I. So that we are doing within this loop. Then after that, we are printing the sum. So after printing the sum, then once we ensure that further we are not able to use this memory which is allocated, then we are able to free that particular memory. Fine. So this is what the example which is demonstrating this malloc function. So the same program which we can implement by making use of calloc function, so which is used to find the sum of the elements entered by the user. So in place of malloc, we are using calloc function, calloc num comma size of int. So this is the only difference here. We are taking two parameters here. Earlier in malloc, we have taken num into size of int. That is a single parameter we have taken. Everything will be same. The remaining part of the program will be same. Fine. Only the usage of this particular malloc and calloc will be different. And another important thing is that once you allocate the memory by using calloc, in that allocated memory, it will be initialized with 0 values. Fine. So this is the program to find the sum of two one-dimensional arrays using dynamic memory allocation. Sum of two one-dimensional arrays. So we are allocating this. How many elements are there? Okay, in each array. Fine, n number of elements are there. So we are allocating the memory for A, malloc of n into size of int. We are allocating the memory for B, n into size of int, and we are allocating the memory for C, n into size of int. So enter elements of the first list here. So we are reading that, enter the elements of the second list here. We are reading the elements into this B array. Then after that, we are storing the elements into the C array. So which is nothing but the sum of two one-dimensional arrays we are storing into a third array, which is called it as a C. So star of C plus I is equal to star of A plus I plus star of B plus I. So the resultant array we are displaying by making use of this for loop. So this is what we are doing here. This is very simple example here. Suppose A is a one-dimensional array having these three elements, for example. So 5, 6, and then 7. And B is another one-dimensional array which is having these elements. Suppose 1, 2, 3. So we want to store 5 plus 1 in so suppose this is 2 and 3. So these are the elements we have in the B array, and we want to store C array, so which is nothing but in 0th location, C of 0th location, we want to store 5 plus 1 6, and 6 plus 2 8 we want to store here, and then we want to store 8 plus 3 11 we want to store here. This is what that number of elements is also 3 here in the C. Here the number of elements is 3, and here the number of elements is also 3. Sum of these two arrays we are storing into the third array. So this is what the problem here. So how we are allocating the memory for these three one-dimensional arrays using malloc function. Fine. So this is what the program is. So now the reflection part is that what is the relationship between array and a pointer. So the lecture outcomes are revisited here. After completion of this session, students will be able to make use of this dynamic memory allocation functions in implementing these one-dimensional arrays. So summary of the session is that we all know that how the memory has to be allocated at runtime. So dynamic memory allocation is also known it as runtime memory allocation. So to do this, we can make use of malloc or calloc, or if you want to change the size which we have allocated previously, we can use realloc. And then we can use free function which is used for deallocating the memory. Fine. So this is a lecture level practice problem. So try to solve this particular problem. So write a program to multiply each element of the array with this using malloc function. Fine. So further readings, you can use this textbook and reference books. Fine. So thank you, one and all.